Check one, two, check one, two. Here we go. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast, raw, real, and unedited. My name is Jason. You can find Catalyst at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And you can also hear this podcast created through Spreaker on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, and Amazon. A Catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope this podcast will do. Now, if you would like to be part of this podcast as a guest or a contributor, you can email us at catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. That's catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. Welcome to episode 24. As I said, my name is Jason. I want to thank all three of you who are out there listening and enjoying this podcast. As you've seen, we've moved on from the story of my journey with cancer, and we're going to start talking about topics, things that kind of interest me, things that might interest you. We love to get you guys on here and talk about your catalyst and what motivated you, what made that change in you. Until then, we're gonna have a different topic every single podcast on this weekly podcast, and today we're going to be discussing a topic that is essential in our daily lives, but it's often overlooked, especially since 2020. I'm talking about critical thinking. Now, to start, let's define what critical thinking is. Right? According to the Foundation for Critical Thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, and synthesizing. Can't say Worcestershire, and I can't say synthesizing. Synthesizing and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observations, experiences, reflections, reasoning, or communication as a guide to a belief and action. In simpler terms, critical thinking is the ability to think clearly and rationally, understanding the logical connection between ideas, and analyzing information before making decisions or forming an opinion. Now, why is critical thinking important? Well, critical thinking is necessary in almost every aspect of our lives, from personal relationships to our careers. It is essential in problem solving, decision making, and analyzing information. People who possess the ability to think critically are better equipped to make informed decisions and navigate complex situations. If you just take a doom scroll on TikTok, you can see the lack of critical thinking skills. And there are many podcasts which put this on full display. As a trainer of onboarding people for certain lines of business and work, since 2020, I have seen a tremendous decrease in this. People unable to think for themselves, people to not rationally kind of put A and B together to make these things happen, and it's really at the point of an epidemic. And one of the things I'm trying to do with the team I work with is, I've put together a deep dive into it and going to utilize this piece. Not only in the lines of business we work for, but probably even develop it into something more. I'll get into that in some future podcasts. Might even kind of present it here on the Catalyst Podcast. So, got sidetracked, got off track as then. Let me give you an example, all right? Imagine you're considering purchasing a new car, okay? You've done your research, you found the car you like, right? However, before making the decision, you decide to think critically about the information you've gathered, all right? You analyze the car's features, you compare it to other cars in the same price range, you read reviews from other customers, and you consider your personal needs and preferences, right? By thinking critically, you're better equipped to make informed decisions that align with your needs and your budget. I know that when I go on to Amazon, one of the first things I do before I purchase anything is I'm reading those reviews. Right? I'm reading reviews. I'm getting feedback on it. Then I'm asking myself, is this something that I need? Is this something we need to get right now? Is it a want or is it a need? And go through these pieces. And some people are just impulse, emotion, and reaction, and just don't apply any reasonable thinking to anything, right? So that car example is a great example. The Amazon's a great example. But how does it apply to elsewhere, like in our personal relationships, right? Well, it allows us to understand different perspectives, communicate effectively, and solve conflicts. We are in desperate need of that. You cannot have an opposing opinion with anybody in today's world. You are looked at in a negative way if you don't agree with what culture is telling everybody, and it's really becoming. You see the lack of thinking and thought. We're just spewing out stuff that we hear and see because we think it's hip and cool and trendy, and we're not thinking about what we're saying. We're not even vetting what we're saying. We're just spouting off stuff, and we sound like talking heads on television, right? By thinking critically about our interactions, with others, we can avoid misunderstandings. We can build stronger relationships. We can have a much more significant impact on the world around us, and just make sense of these things and take a step back. And a lot of times we're not doing that. And it's showing. It's showing. So, now that we understand the importance of critical thinking, let's discuss a couple of ways that we can improve our critical thinking skills, okay? So one way to do this is asking questions. Asking questions. Not asking assumptions. Not asking gotcha questions, but asking real questions. Real questions where we can gather information, clarify our understanding, and challenge the assumptions. Another way to improve our critical thinking is to think objectively, right? We should try to approach situations without biases, preconceived notions, or emotions. We see every single day biases, preconceived notions, and emotions put into our thought process. From government to talk shows, wherever we go, there's a preconceived notion, there's a bias, and there's emotion involved in any way, shape, or form of thinking. We need to take it away. We need to remove it. Think clearly. Think honestly. Finally, we can improve our skills by practicing. You may have to work. Yes. We got to put it into practice, folks. Like any skill, critical thinking requires practice, and the more you practice, the better you become. Okay, so critical thinking is one of the most important skills we can develop. It allows us to make informed decisions, analyze information, navigate complex situations. And by improving our critical thinking skills, we have a more significant impact on our lives and the world around us. So folks, don't be a talking head. Don't just randomly spew off stuff. Because there's going to be someone who's actually going to be thinking and going to ask you to back it up, to see where your knowledge set is at and where your knowledge base is at. So, take the time to practice. Take the time to understand it. Otherwise, it's just, we have such a generation that's so lost. So very lost. we're dumbing ourselves down. And we need to start making good choices. And we need to start thinking and thinking for ourselves and not thinking and supporting what others are doing. We need to think and support for ourselves. One of the biggest things that I did, especially when I was dealing with my cancer and dealing with all the things that were going around, is that I was absolutely selfish in everything I did, especially in the way I was thinking. Making good choices and kind of going through and analyzing things to see if they made any sense. We're not going to be perfect at it, but as long as we try to work on it and put it into practice, we can develop it and we can make ourselves better at what we do. So just think about it. Think about what you see every single day, what you hear, and stop and think. And be honest. Be honest about it, right? If we can take the emotion out of it, if we can take the preconceived ideas out of it, if we can take the biases out of it, and just think vertically, and search for the truth. You know what? You might lose some people along the way, but maybe those people were never supposed to be in your life in the first place. Maybe it's all for the better. Just think critically for you and for society. I think it's going to help all of us if we take a moment to just stop and question things in an honest, unbiased way. So that's episode 24, folks. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Catalyst Podcast. It's raw, it's real, it's unedited. Again, my name is Jason. Let's finish it off here with another quote. From Victor Hugo. Perseverance, secret of all triumphs. Perseverance, secret of all triumphs. Thank you so much for listening. You can find Catalyst at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You can hear the podcast created through Spreaker on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, and Amazon. The Catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that's what this podcast will do. If you'd like to be a part of this podcast as a guest or a contributor, you can email us at catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. That's catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. This has been the Catalyst Podcast. My name is Jason. Episode 24 has now concluded. We'll see you on episode 25. Thank you so much for listening. Go be great.